Okay. All right, cool. Hello, everyone. I don't know if my audio is working. Maybe we can get a little check in that. Anyone in the chat, just let me know what's working and what's not. I got two cameras set up, and right now we're going to be working on the LDO Voron Trident build. So here goes nothing. This is my first Voron build. It's hundreds of parts, maybe thousands, at least hundreds of printed parts, and we got a ton of fasteners here, so we're gonna be doing a lot of work getting this thing put together. All right, so if anyone's in the chat, just let me know what's going on. I guess I can check on things with my phone, so I don't have to have that up on the screen. Let me just log into this here. Oh no, got videos playing. Let me watch the stream on my channel. Your videos. Live, and is this working? I don't know. Let me just check one more time. Okay. Oh yeah, we got some people in the chat. All right, so that means it's probably working. And if my mic is going, then I think we're all good to start the assembly process. So first off, I want to say thanks to LDO Motors for sending this kit over to assemble and just kind of try it out. I'm kind of surprised I haven't done a Voron build before, but it's been a while. Oh yeah, this MMU3 over here, I bought that about a month ago, and I printed a bunch of stuff on it. You can see here's one of the purge blocks. I'm not sure any of the parts are here anymore because I gave a ton of them away when I went to open source. So yeah, hello Jerry Smith from that one show that everybody loves. Okay, thanks for confirming the audio quality, Mazer Core. We're ready to get started. Okay, so let me just show you on my screen some things. So I'm trying to figure out how to print all this stuff. So it's kind of been a challenge for me to figure all this stuff out. Apparently, you have to go through and figure out all the parts that you need to print. And it's not just a few parts, it's like literally over 100 individual parts that you need to pick through and figure out what you need to print. And then you have to pick the right variety for the version of hardware that you have. So depending on what type of mainboard and what type of hot end and extruder and stuff that you're going to be using. So there's a lot of parts to sort through and figure out what you need. And then on top of that, this LDO kit has some LDO specific modifications for the exact hardware that they're using here. And the list of modifications is pretty small. It's just stuff like this where they make the wire cut out larger. It's not a huge deal. And most of the main parts, like in the gantry and in the all the other pieces, those are mostly the same. And then I also have a couple mods that I want to do. So I was on the Voron Discord getting some feedback on what some popular mods are. One of the big ones is the inverted electronics mod. So in this kit, you will basically, instead of flipping your printer over on its back to look at the electronics underneath, you're going to be able to just open up the panel. So like without having to move the printer, you can open the panel up and take a look at your electronics, which is going to be great if you need to rewire anything or you're doing mods. And the other one that was recommended to me was, I think they got, I kind of just lumped them into this LDO specific parts. I should really put them in their own folder. But it's the, I think it's called like the Beefy Idlers mod. I'm not sure where they went. I probably threw them in here into the gantry. But yeah, Beefy Idlers are just going to be a little bit larger and more resistant to breaking. Yeah, so here's the, I don't know. I got to figure all this out and get my printed parts list and make sure that's all working at a later time. But let's get back to the live stream. So we've got my nice camera here. I can zoom in on things that I'm working on. And yeah. So one of the cool things about these Vorons is they use these blind joints. So like you just thread these into the end here, and then you just kind of put the button head cap screw in like this and tighten things down. And that's pretty clever. I first learned about this only a couple months ago, so that's something that I can incorporate into my own designs now. And that's kind of the nice thing about building a printer like this, one of the Vorons, where they've put a lot of thought into how to make things easy to assemble. So you pick up all sorts of little tips and tricks on how to design your components. It's just like having a Prusa where you have it in a kit form and you have to put it together yourself. Same idea. You learn a lot by putting together someone else's expertly designed assemblies, and you can have that kind of inform your own stuff. Okay, just print 4 of everything, you'll be fine. That's not entirely true though. You gotta print like 20 of some parts. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot. MMU spool holder. Oh yeah, this spool holder that I'm using, I guess some people would be interested in this. I'm gonna do a full video on the MMU later. This is just like a nice little solution that I found on Amazon. It's from UPI. I'll drop a link in the chat right now. How about that? Amazon UPI. So I just bought this. It's $30 with a 10% off coupon, so I'll just drop a link to that into the chat. I've also got another spool holder that I'll be testing out. Let me just grab it. This guy right here. So Sunlu sent this over to check it out. It's you know, the S4. It's got all the different heated chambers and stuff, so you can dry off and maintain your filament. So it's a heated dried filament box. Cool stuff there. Well, we'll be seeing if that's worth the upgrade over this type of thing. What I like about this is it's really cheap. So, you know, $27 essentially, versus the Sunlu thing is, I think it's over $100. So if you're just using PLA and PETG, I mean, for me, I don't need to do anything special with PETG because it's just not humid enough in here to worry about that. But I guess you would get a little bit better quality if you're printing a lot of PETG. So that's I'll weigh the pros and cons in that video where I talk about different spool holder solutions. But for now, the topic of the day is the good old Voron here. Yes, the Voron GitHub. Someone's telling me to look at the Voron GitHub. And yeah, there's a lot to this manual. It's over 260 pages. So it's a very thorough instruction set. It's really great documentation. Like, even at most of the engineering companies I've worked at, we didn't have documentation this good. It's got all sorts of CAD models and diagrams to help you understand what's going on. So yeah. And then the other great thing about the Voron community is you can hop on the Voron Discord if you have questions. So I was on there asking a bunch of questions of like, how do I get these parts? Like, what am I doing here? So really great, helpful group of people. I was kind of giving them a hard time yesterday because I didn't realize how big of a project this was. I assumed, you know, hundreds of people have put these kits together. It can't be that hard. And then I get this gigantic bill of materials and all these parts I have to print with specific settings. So yeah, it's going to be a lot. But overall, I think it's a good project. And it's something that you can only really tackle if you have a lot of time on your hands. If you're like super busy, maybe this wouldn't be the best option for you. You might want to just buy a pre-built. But if you're really into this hobby and you want a machine that you'll be able to maintain and upgrade yourself, this is one of the best options out there. Okay, so let's get started then. I'll keep an eye on the chat. while we're going through this. And I'll have the assembly guide up here. So I don't have any printed parts yet. So I'm just going to put together as much of the frame as I can in this live stream, and also just ask you guys for advice. I know a lot of people in the chat have probably put this together. Oh yeah, this spool holder, you probably could print it yourself. If you look at the product catalog and see what's on there, you could get the parts for it. But it comes with bearings and threaded rods and all sorts of stuff. So I think it's worth the $27 for the time that you save, as opposed to building your own. Okay. Oh yeah, the SV08. Gohan is bringing up the SV08. Yes, if you're a lazy person and you want to have the Voron-like experience, you can always get the SV08. Okay, well, with that out of the way, let's get started with the assembly here. So this kit is from LDO. Everything comes really nicely packaged. These extrusions are super nice. They're kind of a unique texture and color, so it should give it a nice kind of look. Everyone that I've talked to attests to the quality of these kits and the fact that you get really good extrusions that are nice and straight, good linear rails, good stepper motors. So it's a premium kit, and you get a lot of nice bits and pieces here. So once you get it put together, it should be a pretty nice machine. Alright, hello Maker Viking. Alright, so let's get started with the assembly. I'm just going to pretty much follow the steps of this assembly process. By the end of it, we should end up with this thing right here, this cube with the little thingy in the middle. So I guess let's do this. Now this is the Voron Trident, not the 2.4. The 2.4 I think is a little bit more popular, and then there's also the Voron V0. That one's also extremely popular because it's a little bit more approachable and it takes less time to assemble. So all good things. But let's get started here. So I guess I'll do my typical thing where I look at all the stuff and comment on the quality and whatnot. So, alright, here's our build plate. I kind of just want to do a mini unboxing here. I've already kind of looked at everything, so the packaging is a little bit disassembled already. But yeah, one of the other things about this Voron kit is it comes really nicely packaged, so you're not going to have to worry about things being damaged in transit. You can see they've got a nice thick piece of cardboard to protect all the other pieces in the box from this massive aluminum plate. Let's take a look at how thick this is. This looks like a 10mm thick aluminum plate, really nicely machined. So yeah, that should give you nice results. Your bed leveling isn't going to have to work very hard to make sure you get a first layer that's of high quality, because this should be a nice flat bed. And we'll get rid of this packaging. We don't need that. I'll set this aside. Yeah, we got a silicone heater, 600 watts for 120 volt AC. I guess you probably wouldn't want to plug this into a 240 volt system, because then it would be delivering 240 watts. Maybe it would work? I don't know. Alright, so we'll set that aside. Here's the motor kit. So one of the things that I've noticed, I've stopped by the LDO booth at multiple of the events that I go to, so like Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival, other sorts of events that they attend, and I like playing with these motors. And they just make a delightful noise when you twist them. So these are high quality 0.9mm or 0.9 degree per step motors. I'll hold it up to the microphone so you can hear the lovely noise they make. I assume that's because they're nice, nice and accurate, and will provide high torque. So you can hear that nice consistent cogging that's just, it makes kind of a gleeful noise when you spin them. Hopefully they won't be too loud when the machine's running, and I assume, like, you know, you'll have your stealth chop and all that if you want to quiet the machine down. Then we've got these linear rods. I think at some point I heard some people complaining about, like, these were coated with something, but these don't appear to have any coating. I could be wrong about that. But it looks like it's just bare steel with a Delrin nut. We've got 3 of those to support the bed motion, so that can move up and down. And last one is this little stepper motor for the extruder. So it's just a tiny little lightweight thing, and I think I'll be building the Voron designed extruder and hot end combo. Let's take a look at some more goodies here. We've got more. Linear rails here. They're all the same length, 200 and looks like, oh, they're 300 millimeters long. So there's 5 MGN 9s and then 1 MGN 12. And I just use the MGN naming convention because that's what I'm the most familiar with. But like all the other hardware that you get with an LDO kit, these aren't going to be gritty and weird. Like, these just slide nicely. Let's see it. Come on. Yeah, there we go. I've bought a lot of linear rails in the past couple months because I'm working on all sorts of projects, and these are really nice. You know, they're all nice and slidey. So again, you know, you're paying for a premium kit with this LDO stuff, and you get nice linear rails, motors, all that. Here's the instead of using T-slot nuts, you've got these that just slide into the linear, the extrusion, and then it gets bolted like this. So instead of having a bunch of individual nuts, you've just got this one long nut to install, and that should hold your extrusion down. I like these. If I could find a way to source this type of stuff, I would use it on all my projects, because fiddling around with lining up 10 or 20 different nuts and trying to slide that all into the rail and making adjustments to that is just really not fun. So, you know, you can pay a little extra and get something like this that's going to be a lot more fun and easy to install. All right, what else do we got? We've got more. I won't show you everything in the kit. I just want to do like some highlights of some stuff that I thought was cool in the box here. Electronics. We got electronics in here, so you're not going to have to worry about sourcing anything else. You just get everything in the box. Got a meanwhile power supply. We've got one of LDO's own mainboard designs. So this is the Leviathan. It's we'll get into this later, but it's basically, it's got really nice stepper drivers on there for the X and Y motion. So those are the ones that are going to be doing most of the work when you're trying to do high-speed printing. So I think it's got, it might have support for high voltage. Let's see. Heater, heat bed. I don't see any. Oh, yeah. Okay, there's a separate power plug on the other side that says max 48 volts. So you can run these separate stepper drivers up to 48 volts, and that'll get you higher speed printing if you're into that. I guess there was one more thing. Well, let's just see. Let's just take a look at everything. We got fans. Hopefully these are nice and quiet. I'll plug them in later, and you know, I like my quiet fans. Belts. Says Gates power belts, so just the typical high quality belts. We got some nice, what are these? Blower fans for part cooling. High quality cable chains. Nice and bendy. Really smooth. Got some feet in here. Okay, what's the other thing I wanted to show you? We'll find it. think it's in here. Ah, yes. I already took it out of the box that it came in, but this comes with Revo. This is my first time using a Revo, so we'll see how I like it. I kind of think it's expensive. You know, it is a little more expensive than a normal nozzle, but it allows you to do fast nozzle changes like this. So you just thread this out. You can thread a new one in. And this kit comes with the high flow Revo nozzles. Now these aren't the high flow abrasion resistant nozzles, but they're the high flow at least, so you'll be able to get pretty good print speeds out of this. And everything's just nice and small and lightweight, so shouldn't hinder your movement speeds too much while you're printing. And I guess one of the updates for this kit, this is the Rev D kit, so LDO does periodic releases with new hardware and design upgrades. And in the Rev D kit, it comes with the Nevermore toolhead system, so that's going to let you power the print head over USB-C. I think that's how that works. We'll try it out later. Let's see. Here's cable management stuff. And then it comes with all the side panels, so you get a fully enclosed printer when you're done. It comes with a small bag of a few printed parts. I think that might have to do with like the Voron specific or the LDO kit specific parts. And then, you know, if you buy a print it forward kit or something, you'll have all of the main parts for the Trident, and then you got that small bag of LDO specific hardware or printed parts that'll get you going. All right, let's check in with the chat. Face covers up laptop screen, so we can't see what you point at, by the way. Oh, dang. Okay, well, let's fix that. So here we go. There, can you see the laptop screen now? 5160s on X and Y, if you remember correctly. Yeah. No, I don't think they're closed loop stepper motors, so they won't self-correct for missteps. Oh yeah, Nighthawk for the tool head. Nevermore is the filter system. Okay, yeah, it's got the Nevermore filter, I think, built into this. Not 100% sure on that. But it's also got the Nighthawk toolhead that lets you power things over USB-C. Okay, so let's get started putting this together. This is a massive undertaking, so I need to get started here. Then for all my printed parts, I'm gonna, figure out how to source those. I'll either do it using a printing service like JLC PCB, or a similar service. And I've also got my FLSun S1 in the background, so I can try that out. I know some people have had problems with theirs, so maybe I'll give it a try and see if I have a different experience. Okay, so let's get started here. I gotta find my tools, and yeah, tool time. So I've opened up a box with all the hardware. I think that might have had the tools in it too. I don't think I'm organized enough to do one of these Voron kits, but I'm gonna try. Okay, here we go. There's the tools. Okay, here's the box with tools and zip ties and that kind of stuff. So, oops. Let's get started. It's got some magnets in there, and we've got some nice tools here. That's pretty cool. Ooh, this one even comes with a little solder adapter for attaching these little like threaded insert things. That's pretty neat. I'll probably have to use that later for all the parts. Okay, it's time to start attaching bolts together, getting these extrusions going. One of the things that I complained about a lot in the previous printers that I've built is when they use low quality fasteners. These are really nice fasteners, so I don't think I'll have any complaints here. You can see they're nice and shiny, and the Allen keys fit in there nicely. They've got well-formed threads, so this should be a lot more fun to put together because you won't have to worry about stripped out fasteners quite so much. Steve Builds Discord server. Ah. Oh, Steve Builds designed the Trident? I had no idea. I've met him a couple times, and he didn't drop that bomb on me, but that's cool. Also, I don't want anyone in the Voron community to take it personally when I complain about this printer. I just complain when I'm putting printers together. That's what I do. How's the Prusa MMU working out? It works well. I guess my only complaint with it is that it takes up some space on your desk. So if there's some sort of solution to get it kind of out of the way, I'd be interested in doing that. This is about as tucked away as I can get it here. So just the printer takes up a little bit of space. This buffer system fits in the back, and then we've got the spools right next to it. So it's not too bad. It's been working out well, though. I haven't had really any issues with it, except for when I loaded things incorrectly. So one of the things that you have to learn how to do is, basically when I load filament into my printers, I usually just cut it and then stick it in the extruder. With this one, the first time you install a new spool of filament, you kind of have to cut it into a tip. So you cut it one way and then the other way and then feed it in, and then you don't have any issues. But when I was careless or, not very careful with cutting filament out and then putting it in, it could fail to feed. But once you feed it for the first time, it's reliable after that because it has its own tip forming algorithm. And I made a lot of really cool looking prints, which unfortunately I gave, I think, all of them away. I might have one around the house somewhere, so I'll see if I can get that and show it off. Or I can just print more stuff with it later. Hello, Toasty Boy. So today we're doing a Voron Trident build. And it's quite a lot of work. Over 200 pages of documentation, hundreds of fasteners, maybe thousands of fasteners altogether. Hundreds of parts that are printed. So we'll see how it goes. Hello, Herzelnerk. In a world where 3D printer modding is becoming a relic of the past, it's nice to see these type of printers that you build yourself and you have all the tools to do any replacements or upgrades and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a good thing. So right now I'm just preloading all of these extrusions up with these button head cap screws. Normally I don't like button head cap screws, but when you have high quality fasteners it's much less of an issue. It's just cheap button head cap screws tend to strip out really easily. If you're using cheap fasteners, I always prefer the socket head cap screws, which are the ones that have a little cylindrical top on them. Versus the button heads, they've got, well, as you'd expect, a button head on them. So yeah, when you got high quality fasteners, it's much less of an issue because the material is strong enough and the tolerances are tight enough that you're not going to have issues with the bolt heads getting stripped out. or the threads for that matter. 3D Experiments is an open source purist. Yeah, that's true. I think we're going to see a lot of... I mean, you see it every year. Like, 1 or 2 years after a printer comes out, they discontinue it. And then maybe they support it for a little while longer. The sad thing is that most companies don't even support the printers that they have just sold. Like, for example, with the Ender 3 V3 with no suffixes, a lot of people were complaining that they couldn't get replacement nozzles because they used a proprietary nozzle system, and if that broke and they don't have replacements for you yet, you've got a brand new printer that's unsupported and you can't print with it, and you have to wait for them to provide one for you. So, nice thing about Voron is everything's open source and you can get anything. Oh, thread locker. Michael, now you drop that on me. Does it say that in the instructions here? Michael Jacobson in the comments is telling me I should be using thread locker. Well, it doesn't say so in the instructions here. So, I don't know. Is this legit? Can anyone verify this claim? That I need to be using thread locker? Is anyone doing anything fun this weekend other than watching my amazing live stream? It doesn't have to be 3D printer related. If you can, you should. Aluminum threads don't like holding torque. According to who, Toasty Boy? I've assembled plenty of stuff in aluminum that holds torque, quote unquote. Keep dropping these. I had a good workout the other day, so every time I pick up a bolt off the floor, I'm going to make a grunting noise. That's just what I'll be doing. Couldn't hurt on a lot of printers. I have bolts that routinely get a bit loose over time. Huh. Well, I would think that these printers would really benefit from having a plate, like a corner bracket, attached after the printer is assembled. So I might do that, and that'll take all the load off of these blind joints. It's the motion that causes it, like it rocking back and forth. Metal detecting, that's cool. I've never gone metal detecting. Cruising on electric skateboard? You like the dangerous lifestyle, I see. Yeah, Bob, I hear that. I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, this is probably what it feels like to be elderly. You know, just seeing, like grandparents getting older and stuff. It's like, gotta get up. So yeah, alright, let's see how this all goes together now. This is built on a flat surface. This desk is relatively flat, and I can go through and re-level everything off stream on a glass top later. Won't corner plates interfere with the installation of the stock panels? Yeah, but there's a Dremel. I can use a Dremel and just cut things off and put a little corner bracket on. We'll see if all that's necessary. I don't think it'll be necessary. I'm not going to be throwing this thing off of a roof or anything. I only do that to printers that I don't like. Okay. So, let's see. I think that's all the threaded holes I need to put these things into. Looks like the H extrusion has one side that's threaded. I'll grab that. And what else do we got? All right. Nope. Just checking all these extrusions for... Oh yeah, this one has one too. And they're all taking the M5x16 button head cap screws. So the nice thing about the way they designed this, or I guess Steve designed it, is these button head cap screws have a good amount of thread on them. So whenever you're worried about a bolt holding or having enough clamping force or the thread coming loose over time or the torque loosening over time, just add more thread length. So these are pretty long threads. I think they should do a pretty good job of holding this together in the conditions that it'll be in. Ah. Okay. Thanks, Toasty Boy. Yeah, I should put this together correctly. I have a little bit of experience assembling things, but I've never, done a Voron, so we'll see how this goes. They have really detailed instructions, so hopefully that should help. Alright, so one of these is a C extrusion, which has like a little middle cutout. There we go. Here's our odd man out. It's got a little hole right there, which I guess is for this thing. One of these. We'll set these three aside because these are special extrusions. And this should form the basis of our top and bottom. We've got like some... Oh yeah. This will be the bottom. These four will be the bottom. These four will be the top of the cube, and then these two are for special purposes somewhere. I guess for the XY gantry system. Okay. So here goes nothing. Here's our B extrusion. We'll put this down like so. Just like this. I think I got it. And the way these blind joints work is they've drilled through here so you can attach the Allen wrench. Oh dear. And then tighten that down. Cool. Yeah, it's really hot. Like, this heat wave's been pretty brutal, so it's good to be able to find things to do indoors. I guess it's a good time to be live streaming then. Am I right? I'm here now. Put everything back in the box and reenact your unboxing so I don't miss anything. Okay. Hello, Sidorak. King Sidorak. Good to see you. So let's see. Maker Viking, you got an SP5? What's a SP5? Okay. I think I did this right. So, like this. And then like this. I didn't do a full unboxing, I just kind of highlighted a couple things that I liked about the kit. It all seems to be high quality stuff. There's no like loose aluminum chips everywhere, which is something I get with most kind of lower cost kit things that I get sent to me. So LDO has got great attention to detail. And this should make for a pretty nice machine. Alright. I'm going to turbo through this. I think I know what I'm doing. Which is a dangerous thing. But I really think I've got it. So we'll just slap these together. might have to move my computer a little bit. Or this spool holder. Let's just get this out of the way here. I'm going to have to move my Prusa / spool holder setup to make a little more room on the desk. One of the things I like about the Prusa MMU is the buffer system is completely passive, so you don't need to run wires to it. I think that's a pretty good advantage. You never have to worry about the motors breaking or any gears wearing out in it. Now you do have gears and stuff in the actual filament swap changeover unit, but they're all stepper motors that should last a long time. So, yeah. I'll give some more thoughts on that in another video. Alright, so let's get this further assembled here. What am I doing? I lost my Allen keys. No! Did anyone see where I put the Allen key? It's just disappeared. Oh, here it is. Oop. Okay. It's the 2 Trees SP5. Interesting. Is that is that like a high-speed clipper one, or is it like just pretty much using it as a base frame and installing all sorts of stuff on it? For 3D experiments, you're thinking about designing your own printer? Interesting. It's a fun experience to design your own printer. Ah, George key. It's right next to the Allen key. So I'm just quickly getting this frame put together. Not worrying too much about the squareness as of yet, because I can just go back in and loosen these up on a really flat surface and get everything squared up then. Right now I just kind of want to see what everything looks like put together. Oh, I think I did an oopsie already. Let's see. I think this goes on the back, and I don't think there's a way to get it on there. Yeah, I need to be able to slide this in from the side. Okay. So I'll just loosen up one of these. Slide this in. There we go. These blind joints are super convenient. So how far can I get without my 3D printed parts yet? Because I assume that's the next thing I'm going to have to do, is just like print things out for a week before I can really do the rest of the build. Or I can just focus on getting like the core components, like the functional parts, printed out. Okay, so I think I've got this all set. And then we've got a slightly shorter extrusion that's used as a spacer. Okay. Yep, that's the one. So how am I supposed to get the rails attached to this thing if it's all assembled? I'm a little worried about that. Oh. Yeah. I think on the LDO kit, since I have these things, I have to insert these into the extrusions before I get further along in the build. These little guys. What do you think? Like, these need to be in here already. Roll-in T-nuts. Yeah, these T-nuts are longer and in one piece, so I need to put those in first. So the question is, where do I need the T-nuts? I know I need one back here. And then probably up at the front. Yeah, I should look at the LDO docs, shouldn't I? LDO Trident. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out, though. Like, I could just look at a picture of this thing and probably put it together pretty well. Okay, it looks like the extrusions go in here. Oof. That's fine. Alright, and then we've also got a couple extrusions that go in along the bottom. Not this one, but of one of these. And I need to take out one of these nuts, or these bolts. We'll put that in here. LDO docs show it very clearly. Okay. Yeah. So does LDO have their own version of this assembly manual, or is it like a preamble to doing the Voron assembly? Ooh, printing the documents. That's a good idea. Ooh, whoa. Okay, I just realized not all of these are the same. So yeah, those hole patterns aren't exactly identical. Let's see if I've messed this up already. I think the one that stands out is going to be for the X gantry. This one will be for our X gantry. I'll just save that for later. And then all the ones that are identical are probably for the Z and the Core XY stage. Yeah, I think this last one, this is the odd one out, and there's only one MGN12, so I can safely assume... Ah yeah, I use HueForge to print the docs. That would be a great use of my MMU. Finally, 3D printing will live up to the promise of replacing regular printing. Okay, and in the docs they advise you to put tape over this extrusion just because you're using it as a spacer. You don't want it to scratch up the edges there when you tighten things down. So I think I will heed that advice. I have tape. I actually have Fancy Pants Teflon tape, so we're going to use that. Teflon tape is good stuff. Heat resistant and very slippery. And this should prevent anything from getting scratched when I'm putting this together. MGN8s, what are those? Yeah, the MGN12 is needed for the x-axis. Kind of curious why they are using an MGN12 for the x-axis, because I think the VZ bot uses MGN9s for everything, including the x-axis or the X gantry. Okay, now we've got our little Teflon. I got my slippery extrusion here, my slippery little spacer. And I'm not going to be tightening this down all the way just yet, because I want to get everything super aligned. I'll probably do it off camera, but I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing for it. I'm just going to go find a glass surface. Well, actually I think this table is probably flat enough. This table's probably flat enough to do my final assembly on, so get one of these blocks and just make sure everything's flush there. And let me take care of this bottom first. So what I'm going to do is just loosen up all the joints along the bottom and retighten them in a flattened state. You only have to do this once, so it's not a huge deal to make sure you do it right. So what I'm going to do here is use a flat surface, push it up against this corner, and then this little extrusion down here, I'm going to be pushing it down and back so that it's flat against the table. The extrusion's flat against the table, and the block is flat against the table, so everything should be nice and square looking. Yeah, actually I saw Steve quite a few times last month because I was visiting, I was in California for a couple conference things, and he likes to attend those as well. Ender2 Pro to print multicolor? Yes, I think the 3D Chameleon would be able to do it. Ender2 Pro is the best printer ever, for those of you who didn't know. Ooh, those are nice and square. Pretty square. Use MGN12 for the X because it's a single front mounted rail instead of on top. Ah, okay. I'm designing something and I ended up using MGN12s because MGN9s won't sit flat on a V-groove extrusion. So that type of wheel that's used on Ender 3s and has the Delrin wheels riding on it. Those are, because of the V cuts into those extrusions, it ends up not being so good for attaching MGN9s to it because the front is too wide. This normal type of extrusion, the T-slot extrusion, will actually work with MGN9s, but the Vs will not. Which is only an issue you have when you're buying or using spare Ender 3 parts. So since this kit is spec'd from basically nothing, you gotta build it up however you want. They can choose to use T-slots, which are going to be slightly stronger and better at holding on to an MGN9 rail. So these are the decisions that Steve must have had to grapple with while designing this thing. Okay, so this printer is scratching up the table just a little bit that I'm working on. Oof, yeah, these sharp extrusion corners are not great for hardwood. But I'll try to get this done with as little scratchiness as possible. And the other thing is your printers are never going to be perfectly flat or square. And that's something that you just have to come to terms with. Like, you can get it as close as you can get it by human, precision. But it's always going to be like 0.03 degrees off or something. And that's actually, it doesn't really matter on 3D printers that much. Like, most of the printers that you get are not going to be square at all, and they print just fine. Okay. Hey, Steve Builds. Someone just told me that you designed this printer, which I didn't know, so that's cool. That makes me like the printer more. And I like Steve more now, too, so much respect for designing something cool like this. SSH was hard. Make sure you are using the Pi Manager utility. Ender 3 Pro, and I just keep refurbishing. Yeah, I'm kind of sad that the Ender 3 is turned into something that isn't really moddable anymore. I think the Ender 3 S1 was kind of the last one that you could really take apart and do new stuff with. Now the Ender 3 V3, they've just cheapened everything to the point where it's like not really worth modifying. The new extrusions are lighter and cheaper, but they're not going to be as good for doing custom stuff anymore, which is very sad. I mean, it's barely stiff enough to function as the printer that it is, and even when you look at the Ender 3 V3 KE, it's too fast for the frame, and it needs like extra reinforcements. So yeah, the Ender 3 S1 is pretty much the last modders machine from Creality, which is kind of sad. And it's like I don't know. I see people doing a lot of work modifying the K1s, which I'll have a video on that at some point, hopefully. Because I should be getting an extruder upgrade kit from Bondtech, which I think that should be a pretty nice upgrade. Ooh-wee. Spectra, you've put so much into your Ender 3 that it could have bought an M4, and the Ender's still in pieces. That's too bad. I will say that if you thought working on an Ender 3 was going to be challenging, which it sometimes is hard for me to work on Ender 3s, this is like another level. Like you're doing everything from scratch. You're having to follow instructions. Yeah, everyone's trying to out Bamboo Lab, which I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like the best strategy. You know, because they can just discount their stuff and then everyone's just going to buy the Bamboo Lab because it's a better version of itself than some kind of clone. But it is what it is. I think more and more Voron's becoming the only option for someone who really wants to work on their printers in a real way. Alright, how many Newton meters of torque am I putting on these bolts? Probably the limitation is the little aluminum extrusion ears that I'm bolting into. Then I will square up this last little thing here. Ooh, Derek, thank you for the donation. So, building from scratch, I take a Voron Trident over a G-Tech i3 Pro B or ANET A8 any time of the day. Does anyone actually buy ANET printers anymore? I haven't heard that name in a long time. I wasn't even into 3D printing back when they were popular. Or I was taking a break from 3D printing. I want to make sure this is centered. Calipers to the rescue. Ah, crap, they're not long enough. Need longer calipers or something. Let's see. Oh yeah, VZ-Bot's a good option too. Definitely, those are fast as frick. Everything is trying to be premium and closed source. Pisses me off. Yep. Maybe the that slice product, that slice Mako. I mean, that could maybe serve as a unifying force for making a new standard. They're releasing a new nozzle standard, so that's something. Let's see. I guess I can adjust this location later, so I'll just torque this down where it is. Hopefully it's pretty well centered. Yeah, that seems centered-ish, and I can adjust it later. Alright, so now I'm just going to go through and tighten down all of these bolts. Make sure they're torqued. And then I'll put the rest of the extrusions on. Right now the frame is a little bit wobbly, like it's noticeably wobbly. And that will, of course, get better as we put more stuff on here. Alright. Okay. So now that this is assembled, this is kind of nice. But you can see it's a little wobbly, like I can flex this frame pretty easily. And that's why we're going to attach more stuff up at the top. That should help remedy that a little bit. And also these side pieces will help a little bit as well. Yeah, 3D Experiments, I don't know what exactly they open sourced, but at least the nozzle is. That would be a little iffy if they open sourced the nozzle but patented the heater block or something. Yeah. Sometimes I'll talk to like some Chinese people that are representing a 3D printer company, and when they describe a 3D printer to me, they'll start talking in inches, and I'm like, don't worry about it, we can talk about things in metric. I mean, I know we generally don't like to, but in the 3D printing area, I think people are on board with metric. What's new? New on what? Just new in general? I mean, everyone freaks out about slice, but I think Revo is patented, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, it's just something that companies do. It's not personal. Ooh. This is feeling pretty good. Alright, next up, the other side. And I think I'm doing this right with these little MGN nuts facing downwards. Sadly, closed source is dying. I think you mean open source is dying. Nah, open source is the thing that's dying. It's kind of idealistic. Okay, Revo's cold side is open source. The hot side is patented. The thing is, companies will always want to steal each other's designs. Even when things are patented, like they'll steal each other's designs. Because it's just the most efficient way to solve a problem, especially if you know that something works. Choosing not to copy it is putting yourself at a disadvantage if you know their solution's better. Sharing is caring? I mean, companies don't really operate on the same level as people do. Yeah, I agree, Max. But what's the point in even arguing that anymore? It's really unfortunate that I talk to people and they're like, oh, I didn't know Bamboo Studio was based on Prusa Slicer. thing is, most people just don't care. And I don't think Bamboo Lab cares that much either. You think they're losing sleep over, you know, making a product that is pretty much the most popular in the world right now? Ooh, who's offering an Ender 3 Pro? I'm just reading the comments. It's turned into a debate over open source versus closed source. I think, I don't know. I used to comment on such things, but at this point, I think it's better to just realize that things are the way they are, and it doesn't benefit you too much to be upset with that, because the patent system is likely to not ever change. My concern with patents and like intellectual property is it only applies in one country, so there's no like global patent system. So if you if you come up with a great idea and patent it, and then let's say someone in another country is like, oh, I want to copy that. They're free to do that as long as they don't come to your market and subject themselves to the laws and patents of the market that you're in. They're free to just, you know, go ahead and copy that patent to their heart's content, and you gave them an instruction manual on how to do it. So, it basically, I mean, in a way, it kind of weakens a national economy because it provides a monopoly for a technology to one company that might not be making the best use of it. I think there's been cases where they've nationalized patents, like they just are like, well, we're gonna stop allowing this to be patented because it's too important. Like, I think something like that happened with like cellular companies. I don't know if, I think Samsung was involved in something, or Apple, where they're just like, well, this is too important of a technology to have patented, so we're just gonna let everyone have it. Wow. That's crazy. Derek Cirillo is saying that if you live in Greece, you have to file a patent in Greece first before you file abroad. If you're a Greek citizen, even if you live abroad. What would Plato think of that? Or Socrates? Okay, so I'm just loosening up all these screws, and then I'm gonna get everything relatively flat and square. I think the biggest beneficiary of patents are the patent holder themselves, and then second to that is going to be like other countries, because they can just read all your patents. How many printers do I have? Right now I don't have a whole lot. I have 1, 2, 3, and this will be my 4th. And then I have one in my car too, so 5. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my printer count down now. I don't really need a lot of printers. I think I'll get rid of my FL Sun. Vague and broad. Wow. I like the trade secret model. If you've got something figured out, just don't tell anyone about it. And don't sell it to anyone either. Just use it, or like license it to a company in private. The army of vendors, I've never really had an army of vendors. Like the most vendors I've had at any given time was like 3. Flip this around, do the last 2 corners. So really most of the squareness of this frame is determined by how flat these end cuts are, because when you do these butt joints, or I don't know what kind of joints, they call them blind joints, it's forcing, and you tighten the bolt, it's forcing this to be flat against the surface of the extrusion there. So it really matters how square these cuts are. So I can see that as being a good reason to go with a reputable company like LDO. I think Printed Solid sells kits as well, but just like anyone who is actually going to do a good job making sure those cuts are straight. Like if you're going to build a printer of this construction, it's going to make sense to go with that. Because you can imagine just buying random pieces of extrusion off of AliExpress or Amazon. They might not care how straight things are, because to some customers it might not matter. But for these, that's a very important measurement and dimension. Okay. Alright, I've got one last corner to do here. I haven't started printing the parts yet. I'm thinking about using some sponsors. Like I have JLC PCB on board to sponsor some stuff. So if they can print out some of the parts for me, maybe using some different materials, that could be pretty interesting. Oh, okay, yeah, Zelotech. I've got some components from them before too. Zaltech has pretty good pricing. The gray frames look nice, yeah. I'm thinking about just doing all black. Keeping it simple. Well, I guess since the frame is gray, maybe it wouldn't make sense to do black printed parts, or maybe it would. You know, it's so simple that maybe a lot of people haven't thought of it or done it. Gray and black. I saw an all-white Voron at Midwest Rep Festival a couple years back, and that one looked really cool. Just all white with white LEDs. Super bright. So sometimes not going with all the crazy neon and bright red colors can look pretty cool. I'll do some thinking about it. I've got a bunch of colors that I can hold up to it and kind of compare. Alright, I'm going to tighten all these bolts down now, and then I'm going to give it my subjective appraisal of frame stiffness. Having a full cube around the outside is definitely good, but these blind joints without any frame brackets on the outside to reinforce it is going to be a little bit wobblier than it could be. And that's probably fine. Like, it's not a big deal if it's a little bit wobbly, because printers work regardless of if they're straight or not. Okay, so everything's tightened up. Let's see how it feels. Pretty sturdy. Let's see. Yeah, I'd say that's the right amount of stiffness for a 3D printer. Pretty strong. Like, it's easy to go overboard and make a printer too beefy. Yeah, I've got a printer around back that I would actually say that it's the right amount of stiffness for the type of construction that I did. But for something like this, where you've got the Core XY stage all supported in plane, and then you've got the bed supported at 3 points, like, it doesn't have to be a super stiff design. So I think this is fine. Now, if I wanted to harden this for shipping, like let's say I was moving around a lot or like traveling with this, bringing it to shows and stuff, I would probably put some aluminum corner brackets on here just to strengthen it up. That way if it gets bumped or anything, it's not going to come out of alignment. But for a printer that's just serving office duty, I think this is fine. It's pretty nice, actually. Unfortunately, the side panels don't add any extra structure because they're spaced off with foam, and maybe that's kind of a good thing, because if you have side panels that are loaded, then when things heat up and cool down, then you'll get expansion and contraction and have to worry about that. But with this, it's nice and simple. Maybe I can put some like little brackets in the corners to strengthen it up a little bit. But like, especially for now, all that stuff can be added later. You get a relatively decent square frame just putting these extrusions together. Let's see what else we've got in the instruction manual. So, Voron Trident. It's telling me to do heat set inserts and stuff. Well, I don't have those, so let's just skip some of those steps. Let's see if we can get to something we can do. DLL PDF seems to have all the colors for frames. Ah. I'll have to look that up. DLL PDF. Oh yeah. I mean, with if you hard mount the side panels, then think about it. When this thing heats up and cools down, the side panels are gonna expand and contract. So the way the Voron project does most of their side panels is they have foam tape, and then they have little tabs that hold on to the side panels. So any expansion and contraction isn't really a big deal. Oh, I'm gonna need printed parts. I can't even put my my other stuff together. Let's see. This probably goes down here underneath. Okay, yeah. I guess I gotta work on getting those printed parts. I might use the FL Sun to print some parts. We'll see. It's like $200-something to get all the parts printed for you in a kit. So that's pretty expensive. Knocked to a color scheme for a while? Yeah. Okay. So I think what I'll do... Let's see how long we've been streaming. We've been going for an hour and a half. Okay. Not the longest stream in terms of a build log, but I just wanted to do something to kind of introduce things and get started. Printed parts stream now. I don't want to print parts, if I'm being honest. It looks like it's a lot of work. And I might just get like a print it forward kit, or for like the base components, and then all the outside pieces I might like farm those out to using different printing processes. I'm thinking that, well, I'll just show you the picture that I have. maybe I'll show you. Hold on here. Let's see what we've got. This is just kind of an idea I had. Let me open it up and show you. I have the technology to put my screen up on stream, so. And maybe I can get some advice from you guys on how I should do this. So let me switch over. OBS, activate desktop. Okay. So I was thinking about like using a bunch of different 3D printing technologies and like using this as a showcase to demonstrate different materials and you know, so you could take a look at this and see all the different material finishes and colors and whatnot on one machine. And I'm planning on keeping this printer for a while because any printer that you put together yourself, you just end up keeping it for longer. That's something that I've figured out over the years. So yeah, what do you guys think? Let me try and shrink this down so I can read the comments. Oh, you'll print for me for free? Oh, really? Alright. WF or Rider, I will take you up on that if you're serious. So just hit me up on Discord. There's links to it in the video description. But what I'm thinking is for all the main components, like the pulley blocks, the print head, maybe the print head I could experiment with, the motor mounts, bed holders, like all the functional components, I'd want to make them out of the suggested materials, which is usually ABS or ASA. And then I can play around with some of the parts on the outside. Like maybe I do all of the brackets that are holding the panels on in a different material, like MJF or something. It takes 4 to 5 days to print all the parts. I would do them, but coming from Australia will take forever. Yeah. Max Pruce, I think AliExpress is having a sale. Maybe. Oh, Toasty Boy. Oh, I'll print them for you, heart, heart, JK, LMAO, maybe. Okay. Well, if anyone's actually interested in printing some parts for me, I'll make a Discord channel right now. That'll be the, we'll call it the printed parts channel. And I'll drop a link to it here. Just give me a second and we'll have it going. I guess the 3D printer help channel is a good one for this, so I'll just invite. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I put a invite in there for the 3D printer help channel on my Discord. So if you want to print some parts, just drop a message in there. And I'll paste this picture in there as well. Copy. Copy? It won't let me copy. No. I can drop that picture in there. Hold up. But yeah, I've got a lot of stuff planned for the channel. We've got more things to do. Maybe some 3D printer news. Is there anything interesting going on the in the world of 3D printing? I know people have been freaking out about the Micronics stuff. Oh yeah, I have email. So go to my contact information in the on my channel. Like you can go to community, and then there's like a contact. Or I also have a contact page on my website, which I can drop here. So. I think this should work. Hold on. HTTPS ://www dot I think that should work. Let's see. Yes, there we go. Yeah, that'll patch you through to me if you're interested in doing anything. Yeah, I think $1.3 million sounds like a lot, but when you have to hire people to do things, that ends up drying up pretty quickly. But I think they got a pretty good deal with Formlabs, and you know they got a good attitude about 3D printing, and I think they'll do some good stuff there. I think people are kind of blowing it up a little out of proportion, like what happened. It's like they literally didn't take anyone's money. Like maybe people got sold on the vision that they were presenting, and I guess are offended that it didn't come to reality. But at the end of the day, no one ended up having to pay for things, and they got some bonus coupons if they're interested in buying a high-end machine. I mean, if you were Formlabs, would you do it? Would you do it if you were Formlabs? Would you try to buy them out? I think they would. I think you would if you were Formlabs. So, yeah, I'm just going to be organizing everything and getting my 3D printed parts in order. Should be fun. One thing I'm worried about ordering the core components, if I were to like place an order on JLC PCB or something, I'm not sure if they'll give you that level of granularity of being like, I want 4 layer walls, all this extra stuff. I mean, I could put an order in and then put in special request for the number of layer walls and all that kind of stuff, but it's not going to be... I think it's probably better to go with just like people from the community or a printed forward program. Print it forward. Yeah, I think customer support on those machines would have been a nightmare, because I wonder if sending the 4 or 5 machines out to YouTubers and like having to experience that the issues of having to help end users out with getting things working was kind of a wake-up call of like, holy crap, we just had to spend hours and hours and hours getting these things to work for them, versus like it's one thing to have it working in the lab. Like you guys are really knowledgeable, the developers of the machine are really knowledgeable and know how to fix everything, but when it gets into the hands of customers, that's like a whole nother story. Yeah. The probe is going to be a clicky probe, I believe. Let's see. Let's take another look at the parts kit. Might as well. Yeah, this is a nice frame. Look, one-handed. Personally, I'd probably build it a lot sturdier, but that would probably be overkill. And given that there's a bunch of these out in the wild and they work, this is probably the right amount of material for the job. And if you want to strengthen it up, you could always DIY some plates and just add a bunch of structure to this thing for whatever reason you have for that. But as it is, I think it's pretty nice. All right, let's set it down on the floor. We'll get to that later. Interestingly, it's kind of neat seeing it next to the K1 Max. So this is a 250 by 250 print volume printer, and it's about the same size as the Creality K1 Max. So I think Creality did a pretty good job with packaging. Let's put it on the front here. Yeah, I mean the Creality machine is about 20 millimeters wider, but it's got 50 millimeters more of print volume. So just a little more efficient there, and that's just because they had the ability to do all custom extrusions and stuff and really get things to be super nice in there. Okay. What's the easiest way to re-roll a tangled roll of filament? Just throw it away and get a new one. That's personally what I would do. Yeah. Or, actually, are you talking about like one, like it got a tangle? Yeah, okay. I can give you some advice on that. So basically, let me grab one of my spools here. Let me do it to one that I don't particularly like. So it's not a sad day if it ends up getting ruined. Okay, so say we have our spool here. I'm gonna switch my camera back here. Boop. Okay, so we have our spool here. And then it gets tangled. So usually what happens when a spool is tangled is a bunch comes loose, and then you put it back together, and you end up doing something like this. You're essentially tying a knot. So like, let's say here's the filament, and we go like this, and I tie a knot like this. So now when I start unspooling this, you're trapped underneath another layer, and eventually it might get tightened up and like here. You can see it's kind of like getting pulled. In order to unspool it, it has to pull this other layer off to the side, and that might eventually get to a point where it's really just tangled in there. What I'll do is I push a bunch of filament out. I get it like really loose like this. So you've got like all these extra coils here, and then you just take all of them off. And hopefully that will have done it. So hopefully the knot was somewhere in those extra like wraps that you had there. And let's just test this out. Now when I unspool this, yeah, everything's running clean and there's no overlaps. So then you can just wind it back on. Ta-da! It's not too complicated. And another thing you can do is just cut off. Like I just kinked it a little bit right here. You can see that's a little messed up. So what you can do is just, if you know that you've got the knot, you can just cut all this extra material off like this, and throw it away, and then you're all set. Hopefully that made sense. A suggestion: get a new Big Tree Tech Eddy. You can get it if you can run heat. Run that. I bet they would send one to me if I asked for one. Clicky works, but you want faster probing than just playing on PEI, then it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I guess so. I might just kind of use... what I'll probably do is use mostly the stock setup, and then at a later time I'll try adding some mods on there. So maybe I can add Clipper or Clicky at a later time. Or whatever else. Alright, well, I'll wrap this stream up. Thanks for watching, guys. I don't know how many people are in here. Let's take a look at my analytics. We got 27 viewers. Heck yes. That's amazing. Alright, thanks guys for watching. I'm going to go get lunch and work on some other videos so that you keep getting the best content in the universe on my channel here. So, I'm sure everyone here is subscribed, but if you're not, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like the video. Okay, and end the stream here, and I'll see you later.